to start today, I just want to say thank you to like everyone who watches the videos, and especially to people who like. That's thanks very much for that. I appreciate it. And if anyone is watching this, then please do like and subscribe, because kind of lets me know that I'm not just speaking into the ether. So what I was thinking about today is kind of a continuation of what I was going on about yesterday. So yesterday I was talking about not beating yourself up about things. So if so like I said, yesterday I was in the sauna and it just wasn't happening, and so I got out before the full 20 minutes, but it was okay. It's like, it's okay. You can do that every now and again, it's fine. But today, so when I'm in the sauna, and I'm sitting next to, well, I lie down and there's another guy there who sometimes turns up, who's playing with his phone and absolutely does me head in. So I was kind of nice and relaxed, and then this guy comes in after I don't know how long I've been there. And he's starting to play with his phone, and it's making beeps as he's getting messages, and he's swigging on water and burping and all this. And like just basically doing me head and like getting me out of like the nice place that I tried to be in the sauna. And I was like, oh, why don't I just go? But today, it was like, no. Yesterday, you left, and it was fine. But today you can't. And basically, today, before I even got in the sauna, I knew that I was going to do those full 20 minutes, no matter what. There was nothing that was going to pull me out of that sauna before the full 20 minutes was done, because one thing is not beating you up about something, beating yourself up about something, but it's a completely other thing to like just make up dynamic excuses every time you don't want to do something. And like, it's kind of, I was going to say it's a fine line between the two, but it's not really. But your brain's tricky, you know what I mean? Everyone's mind is really clever, and it, like the old cartoons, at least when I was a kid, and like you'd have like the devil on one side and the angel on the other. And so you've got one thing saying something and the other saying the other. And it's kind of a good analogy of the way your brain works. Because there are, for everything that you do, unless it's a behaviour that's completely ingrained, then there is some kind of like participation in like having to make yourself do it, which is why I'm big on habits, because that way you get that bit out. So today, after I've been today I was thinking, oh, maybe I should just not stay in there. I mean, it was a fleeting thing, but the reason it was fleeting was because yesterday I did get out a little bit earlier, and there was just no way I was going to do it again. And it's kind of like, in those situations you really do have to stand your ground. So when I say things like you shouldn't be using willpower all the time, that was one of the situations where I was absolutely more than prepared to just stick it out with brute willpower if I had to. There was nothing going to get me out of there early today, because that's how the slippery slide happens. And I know this because I've been through it, I've done it. So it's like I said yesterday, the whole, oh well, I've messed up eating well today, so who cares? I'll start again tomorrow. It'll be fine. And then you just like basically go on a food binge for the rest of the day. And so, although I really like going to the sauna, I just wasn't going to risk it. You know, I'm not risking because I mean, there's always something better to do. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I've always got something on my mind, like, oh, I should be getting back, and I should be doing this, and I should be doing that, and you know, in work I need to do this, and oh, I could just, the time that I'm spending doing that, I could, you know, invent some kind of pious excuse to do something. You know, there's always that, but you've got to stick it out. You know, that's why habits are so important, the good habits. Because now I drop my kids off at school and my brain is just, I'm already, you know, the homing signal's taking me to the sauna straight away. I'm not even thinking about it. It's just the first thing that I do after I leave the kids, always. And so, you know, by the time, you know, before I know it, I'm lying down in the sauna. And it's just, you know, for me, like the sauna, it just has a lot of like mental health benefits from it. Because when my body feels good, it's easier to just not let all the shit of the day get on top of you. Because, you know, we all deal with stuff all the time. And it's, you know, it's important first to realise that stuff's going to come up that you don't want to do, and you're not a bad person or lazy just because you don't want to, you know, you don't greet absolutely every task with, you know, childlike enthusiasm. You know, that's fine, don't beat yourself up about that. But at the same time, part of saying, right, I'm not going to beat myself up about not wanting to do stuff, you have to have the recognition that you will get the stuff done though. It's not like, just, you know, you have to like be quite clear to yourself that just because I don't want to do something doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. You know, you do have to do things. And it's kind of, that's the whole point. That's the fine line, is like, you know, in a certain sense, you do have to beat yourself up about stuff, because you can't just always let yourself off the hook. So, you know, a little bit of, you know, that's what your conscience is for. You know, a little bit of, shouldn't have done that. You know, alright, next time I'll do it better. You know, you need that. Because, you know, it's a process, isn't it? I mean, living is just a process. And if you don't, you know, if you're not facing things that you don't want to do, that means that you're completely in your comfort zone. And that's also not a good thing, because you're not going to get anywhere. If you're not challenging yourself, then, you know, you can't build muscle without fatiguing the muscle. You know, the process of fatiguing it isn't always that pleasant, is it? So that's basically, you know, that's the main takeaway of all this, is that, you know, life is kind of, it sort of oscillates between, oh, I don't want to do that, and oh, this is brilliant. You know, that's just normal. And like leads me on to something that I read, like it was, or I can't remember if I read it or I heard it, but it was Dan Cole anyway. And I recommend to sign up to his newsletter, because it's interesting. I like his perspective on things. Like he was talking about happiness. And so I sort of came to a similar conclusion like a few years ago. But like I used to say, if I wanted to just be happy all the time, I'd just get a lobotomy. Because you know you're not going to be happiness. It's like it's a special altered state. So I'm not saying like just if you're not happy, it doesn't mean you're miserable. You know, I don't spend my life being happy. I'm fairly contented. You know, I'm grateful for a lot of things in my life. In fact, for almost all of it. You know, I don't think that there's any aspect of my life that I'm not grateful for. You know, I've got 3 great kids. You know, I've got a wife that, you know, I can actually talk to. You know, that's kind of, I see this with, you know, people I know, and, you know, everyone gets on with the wife, I suppose, but I kind of, I sometimes get the impression that people's wives are just like a different, like a special type of adversary or something, I don't know. And like, you know, I feel really lucky with my wife. You know, she's she's really special. I can like it's some. I don't think I would have any other type of wife as well, and it's completely fortuitous. Because let's face it, when you meet people when you're young, you're not exactly. You know, I wasn't the same person when I was like 23, 24 when I met my wife as I am now. And we just, you know, we've grown together, and you know it's, you know, I've been really lucky. So you know, my life is pretty great. You know, I live in a nice house. I've got like a fairly decent job. You know, I don't have any complaints. My health is, you know, pretty good. I've got to get a sore back. I've currently got an injured shoulder, but you know, I can see I'm going to get over these things. It's fine. But I'm not like, you know, in song how happy I am all the time, because you know if I was, I wouldn't get anything done anyway. But I'm not sad, and I'm not miserable, and you know I'm not depressed beyond my like Sunday morning food hangover. You know, it's like, you know, so but chasing happiness, it's just like it's a crazy, it's a silly thing to try and chase. You know, it's like, imagine if like we were obsessed with, you know, that tingly feeling that you have when you're about to sneeze. That kind of feels nice. Imagine if you're obsessed with that and you just wanted that all the time. Imagine if you were like, you know, doing body modifications and sticking things in your nose and all stuff like that just to get that tingly feeling, to, you know, be around on demand and stuff. Like, people would just think that you were nuts, and you know you will be. So like chasing happiness is just like that. It's like some kind of weird. It's a fetish. You know what I mean? People chase weird things. Well, it's because we're kind of told. Because let's face it, chasing happiness, it's a business model. You know, if you can sell happiness, that's, I mean, where to ever see, and I mean, not that I don't watch any telly, and I haven't done for like over 10 years. In fact, probably like over 15 years. But the commercials that I remember, like, they're not ever selling you like that piece of chocolate. They're selling you the whole thing of like, oh, you know, don't you just imagine being in this position where you had nothing other to worry about in your life, and you could just eat this piece of chocolate. You know what I mean? That's what they're all about, isn't it? And if you don't see that, you know, if there's nothing in your life that makes you feel that your life's worth living, I mean, I don't want to, you know, I don't think anyone watching this is going to, anyone who's put up with this video for this long probably isn't the audience, but, you know, you're not going to, if you've got an empty life, you're not going to be happy. If you don't do anything that brings like some meaning to your life, then you're not going to be happy. There's no other way around it. But the thing is, those type of things, you can't put that thing in a packet and put a label on it and sell it. You've got to find inner meaning. You've got to do it yourself. It's all about like everyone talks about the inner work, but it's true. There is a certain amount of inner work that you're going to have to do just to be able to, enjoy life. And I think it's a good sign if you can sort of unplug yourself from what's going around. If you're not like completely immersed in the zeitgeist, then it means that you have got like some kind of selfhood. And that's Michael Tesari talks about this all the time, like the idea of selfhood, and like how, or like Ayn Rand as well. People just, some people just don't have a self. They're just like reflections of the opinions that other people have around them. I think that was in The Fountainhead or something like that. When, if you haven't read The Fountainhead, I really recommend it. It's an amazing book. It really is. Like, especially like when you think it was written. Well, I don't know when it was written, but it was set in the 1920s, and it just seems so modern. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't. Like the people and they're just so, it's not like someone else had gone with the wind or something, you know what I mean? It's that was written later. It's yeah, I definitely recommend reading it. And just reading in general, read books. Lots of people who don't read books. It's just scary the way it's kind of accepted. I have like such a fight with my kids to get them to read books, because I kind of get it. There's no dopamine hit from like turning over a page. You know what I mean? There just isn't. But reading books is like a different type of like delayed gratification, isn't it? You've got to, when you're starting, especially when you're starting to read and you don't read very well. It's a pain. Reading, even though it's in your own language, if you're not used to it, it's such a struggle. So I'll keep you up to date how that struggle goes with my kids. But it's such a shame. It's like, what? My kids see me and my wife reading. We read. We're not like. We're not just always there on the phone. We read. They see me reading more than they see me sat in front of the telly. And I only sit in front of the telly when I'm with them, and they want me to watch them. That's when I watch them. And even in this house, it's difficult to get the kids to read. So there's plenty of people my generation who don't read. And people younger than even less. But like all my mates, they've all got. If I reckon that I could just get up to any one of my friends like in my phone, and just like send them a message and say, what book are you reading at the moment? And they'd say, oh well, I'm reading this, or what books have you read? They could just tell me. And I think that's kind of a lot of people don't realise how important it is to read. And it really is. Just read anything. Get into the habit of reading stuff. And then once you get into the habit of reading stuff, start reading stuff that you don't think that you'll agree with. Just do that. Or when someone like mentions a book, just go and read it. It's I've learnt a lot from just random book recommendations of people like what Michael Mallon. I mean, I don't think I would have ever read a book by Jonathan Haidt in my life. And then Michael Mallon recommended. Oh, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's basically. Could be called The Righteous Mind, something like that. Anyway, it's brilliant, read it, and it explains just like the way people, the ideas that people tend to have, and like people who are on the left or people who are on the right, and it could actually be a lot of people's opinions. It might actually just be like biological, what we feel. and what we think, and we rationalise our opinion post hoc. And so I'm not going to go into like rehashing that book now, but read it. It's great, you know, and it'll open your eyes, and it'll also give you a lot more empathy. I think about, you know, when people are expressing certain political ideals or like just their like the view on life. You know, maybe it's, I mean, you know full well that it's not something that they've actually sat down and like reasoned out through any principles, but it might be that they're addressing post hoc just like their own like biological instincts. So anyway, yeah, read books, and as I was saying at the start of the video, you know, letting yourself off the hook every now and again is good. I'd totally recommend it, but don't let that be the wedge. You know, it's, you know, to open up your defences and then suddenly you've gone off the rails again. So, you know, stand your ground. I think that's like I think that's the takeaway of like, once you can make a concession, but then that's it. After that, you've really got to say, you know, the only reason that I can allow myself to, you know, I can let myself off the hook every now and again is because it is every now and again. You know, the 99.999% of it is like, no, I've said I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and that's, you know, that's fine, and that's why you need your habits to like get you there, and then, you know, so that you're not using your willpower to say, oh well, I've got to go to the gym, oh yeah. You know, you've got to get some kind of mechanism to just get to the places that you need to be, like to go to the gym, to cook food, you know, cook your healthy food, or at least get into the habit of eating a healthy food. But if you're not eating healthy food, then just forget it. You're not going to achieve anything, and I strongly believe that. I've never achieved anything in my life when I haven't been like healthy. And because if you're just not healthy, your mind, you can't apply your mind. So, you know, that's it's. I'm not saying that it's like, it's not the easiest thing to do, but it's the simplest. So, you know, get into the habit of eating healthily, doing exercise, you know, get rid of toxic people. You know, you don't need to get, the first toxic person that you need to get rid of is yourself. You know, there's no other way around that either. You know, you've got to be healthy, and part of that health is mental health. And if you're not looking after your mind, then forget it as well. So, you know, do some meditation, do your tapping, you know, all of that. And yeah, that's basically it. I think this is done. I'm too hungry to carry on. Like I said at the beginning, thanks to everyone who watches this, thanks for the likes, thanks for the subscriptions, and you know, just keep up the good fight, because you owe it to yourself. You know, you're not going to be, I think we owe it to ourselves and to everyone else that, you know, you should try and be a force for good. And the only way you can do that though is be a force for good for yourself when you start. So look after yourself, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.